honestly, sticking with one band, one name, one genre the entirety of your career is one thing that's actually going to help you be successful. Because I've been in countless different bands.
Mm.
Being in 4 different bands at once doesn't really get you anywhere because you can't pick just one that you want to fully promote to the full extent.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how
plus,
do you manage that being in 4 different bands at once too? Like just with jobs and relationship? I mean, that sounds like a lot to juggle.
welcome to the world of professional drummers.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Innersleeve Music Podcast. I'm Cassius Morris, Joe Pacheco joining me as usual. What's going on, Joe?
Yeah, same old, man. Just grinding away. Episode 101.
Episode 101. We're really happy to be coming off episode 100. We thank everybody out there in the SoundMojo community for the continued support. And we've also actually just reached another milestone here at the channel, guys. We've just hit 30,000 subscribers over on SoundMojo. I know, I'm pumped about this, Joe. Like, it feels like just yesterday it was 25, and you blink your eye, it'll be 30. Soon it'll be 40.
Yeah, I know. It's like we sort of talk about it, but we also don't talk about it at all. It just seems to be like, oh, where are we at now? Can we mention a new milestone? But like, we definitely focus on the numbers, but we also don't, really like religiously focus on them.
We don't micromanage them. No.
No, that's it. We like it when they go up, of course, but like we all, we know we put out good stuff, and we're not the best and all that, all that stuff, but we do the best we can, and I think it's resonating with our audience.
Today's guests on the podcast are husband and wife electro-pop music duo Circadia. Now, we want to give a huge shout out to Circadia because they're actually just married. As you guys are seeing this, I believe at the time of this taping, they were about a week away from marriage. So we just want to give a big, warm SoundMojo congratulations to the couple here from Circadia. We appreciate you guys for stopping by the show. Very much in tune with each other, Joe. I think you can definitely see that they're sort of like this, which I think is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you kind of sort of have to. We saw it with the Standstills, right? They've been together. As in various groups, husband and wife performing, touring. So it might be a new trend, right? Where we see couples now, taking the world by storm.
You never know. So definitely stick around to the middle portion of this episode for that conversation with Circadia. Hopping over to some news in the world of music, Elton John, or Sir Elton John, I guess I should say, put the respect where it's due, has finally said farewell to North America with his last show at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Now, this wasn't just any regular show. This show was actually streamed live on Disney Plus and had an audience of millions and millions of people across the globe, including me, Joe. I actually happened to log into Disney Plus on a whim while this was going on. I don't know if you got to see this.
Nope, no, I didn't get to see this. I don't even remember what I was doing Saturday night, but no, I didn't get to see it, unfortunately.
I caught a couple songs, and I think Candle in the Wind and maybe Tiny Dancer are the ones I caught, and I gotta say, really cool to see Sir Elton, and this is my first time I've actually seen a live concert streaming on a platform really in this manner. I mean, we had the Kanye and Drake show streaming on Amazon. It was sort of an Amazon Prime deal through Twitch, but I don't think we've ever seen this directly on a major streaming service.
And how was it?
I think it was awesome. Honestly, people are raving about the reviews when it comes to this show. Not only was it Elton John, but Dua Lipa came and popped out. One of the best pop acts, I would say right now. Brandy Carlisle was also there. So, I mean, this must have been a real treat for fans. Dua Lipa, of course, one of the hottest artists from the UK. And, to be doing so much with Elton John, it must be very meaningful to her as sort of a UK artist.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like literally he's a sir now, right? So it's like working with royalty. Like I would love the opportunity to do anything in any capacity, like not even be on stage, but just like, as part of the recording team or something. I would have loved to have that opportunity. And, I never actually got the chance to see him perform live. So, but, I'm not too worried because I don't believe the whole, this is the last time he's going to be touring or the last tour, because they've already said he's talked about doing some other stuff, right?
Well, but maybe, we have heard that too, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe it's like a big tour, so you can still do events and here and there, but like maybe it's just like he won't as extensive be touring the States anymore or whatever, So He looks like he's in his bathrobe, you know?
No, he came out of the house tonight for an exclusive performance.
I have to admit though, like, we're lowering it here so we don't get clipped on copyright stuff, but like, there's something about this remix that is so good, of this song, like I always think people, it's an easy lift to do a remix of already a massively popular song, but this one for some reason didn't rub me the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's definitely a different situation when the artist themselves is involved. Like, it's ridiculously lazy to just basically but take somebody's song. But if you're going to collab with the artist to reimagine it, I think that definitely has it reeks less of BS, to put it in a frank way. It seems more authentic.
I mean, I don't have an issue with remixes. It's just more like when people just use sections of songs in the new song or in their song to sort of like, get popular or like have it play on the radio, in an easy way out kind of situation. But like this one was really good. I really enjoyed this remix. And it's not just like, oh, let's put a 4 on the floor dance beat over already what existed. It sounded like a whole new song. Yeah,
no, I mean, it definitely brought a new life to it. And yeah, man, Elton's outfit is giving me life right now. This is the most...
that's what he's known for, that's what he's known for, these amazing outfits, but no, it's definitely cool, man. Definitely something like, I was wondering, like, from the experience of you watching it on Disney Plus, like there's no extra features or anything like that, right? Like you just sit back and relax, right?
Yeah, it was basically just the concert, like a live concert video. And I was stunned I was almost like, is this actually live? Because it was just so bang on. But of course, it's Disney. They got trillions of dollars to make it perfect in every way.
To do it right.
Exactly, man. But I mean, overall, I would say it was well done. And I always try to look at the situation over the individual. So I think it's great for Elton John, but really what I hope, Joe, is that this can open up the forum for a lot more different shows. I think like, maybe an artist could even do an exclusive deal where you get to watch, all the shows kind of like a season pass, and you could watch live at any show they do on their whole tour. I mean, I think the sky's the limit.
I think that's what's coming, because like, if you can't make it to this type of a show, or you don't want to go to the physical show, because I read an article about this show and in LA in general, where it's like, if you want to go see a show downtown Los Angeles, it's like you got to leave like at 4:00 in the afternoon, endure 2 hours of traffic, maybe find parking, watch the show, but then you got to leave a good while before it's finished so you can make it home and not avoid traffic and all that stuff. So like, hey, why not?
Nightmare.
You didn't have to pay anything extra, right? This was part of the Disney Plus. It was just there, right?
It was just there. It stumbled on it, right? So, I mean, it's, it's good to see that Amazon has sort of started something. Disney Plus is now running with it. And I would say, within 5 years, mark my words, we could be seeing this on Netflix and every other streaming service.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, because even look, just with my kids, they play Fortnite. They had,
Travis Scott, Ariana Grande.
They had even what's that guy I'm drawing? He's a writer. I'm drawing a blank there, but like Major Lazer, he's part of Major Lazer.
Okay, I've heard of that for sure.
Yeah, so he was there too. Deadmau5, I think, was there too. So it's like, and then Roblox is another platform where there's millions and millions of kids, and they're doing concerts and stuff there. So yeah, it's gonna come, which is cool, because like, as a kid, like, you can't make it to a concert or whatever, for whatever reason, distance, and it's just there, like I wouldn't even mind if you had to pay like a little extra pay-per-view, but if it's included in your subscription, all the better, man.
Now, this past weekend were the 50th Annual American Music Awards, and it seems like it was a pretty entertaining show. We had a lot of different celebrities popping in and making appearances, some of them making more of a stir due to their outfits, I think, than their actual lyrical and musical content, but others really carrying. I mean, we can see here that Pink was on stage. She did an awesome tribute to Olivia Newton-John, which I think it's safe to say Pink might have carried the night, because she took number 3 and number 1 on the top 5 list for this night.
Yeah, from USA Today here, as we're showing. Yeah, this is her entry. I think this was the awards opening ceremony kind of thing. And she's a great artist. I've always been a big fan of Pink. She writes her own stuff. Definitely a great artist. I've seen her live too.
She's awesome, and such a long legacy career. Now, Machine Gun Kelly, maybe we could pause here for a second.
I have to pause this, yes.
Yeah, he's making headlines. Now, I saw a video of Lionel Ritchie, and he said, first of all, he asked him how sharp they were, found out they weren't sharp. And then Lionel was sort of holding back, but he was like, you know what, the kid's cool. He's like, the kid's cool, he's doing his thing, God bless him. So, I mean, look, if you're seated there, but listen, I wouldn't want to be seated next to this guy.
Man, especially all night long.
all night long. And also, I feel like he's taking the attention, even if Lionel is definitely much better dressed by a miles, this guy's taking all the attention.
Well, yeah, but that's what it is, right? He's at the prime of his career. Like, Lionel doesn't have to do any of that stuff anymore.
You're right. I guess he's had a decade or two of attention's worth, so I think he's satisfied.
Yeah. Let's continue.
MGK winning the Best Rock Album, by the way, Best Rock Artist Award, which was a little bit controversial, but definitely finally being accepted into the genre. Now, Chris Brown took home the favorite male R&B artist, and this is Kelly Rowland announcing him. And once there was some boos in the crowd,
I love it.
As you can see, she said, "Excuse me, honey, be quiet."
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, you know, me too. I love to hate Chris Brown and whatever, but I mean, like, you know, don't ruin the moment. Let her do her thing, finish her speech, because she was accepting the award because he wasn't there, right?
I don't know why he wasn't there. Now, I also heard that he was supposed to be doing a performance, as we can see here, in honor of Michael Jackson's 40th anniversary of Thriller, and the performance was apparently scrapped. Now, I wonder why would they have him in rehearsals for this, I wonder, Joe, and then scrap it at the last minute?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's definitely a suspicious one for sure. Taylor Swift, look at her. Look at her go, man. She's been cleaning up for how many years?
Yeah, apparently at 40, she's gotten 40 of them, and like she could only carry, 5 or 6 in her hands, and then apparently only went and accepted 3 or 4 of them on speech. The rest just like, just throw it in,
throw it in the pile with the rest.
Throw it in the back of my pickup, you know.
She's gonna have a garage sale soon and get rid of some of those. Man, it's, you know what? I got nothing but love for Taylor Swift's success. Again, her music is not for me, but I don't think she's writing it for me. So it's like, at the end of the day, bless her, and she can do her thing. I'm glad that she's successful. She's under 30, isn't she? I mean, she's a young woman. Very young. So it's very inspiring to see. Did you catch the 50th annual AMAs? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below what you thought, who your favorite artist was, and maybe who the worst was. Here we asked to pick between these two legends, Slash and Keith Richards. And this is a really tough one for guitarists, I think.
Yeah, our audience voted 76% in favor of Slash and 24% for Keith Richards, which is really surprising.
I'm shocked to hear this. I mean, the Rolling Stones, you know, they obviously predate Slash, so I mean, I would have thought that the edge would have gone to Keith Richards, but, you know, I guess Slash, a legend in his own right, and maybe more relevant to our demographic.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. Like, more, you know, the audience is younger and knows more Slash than they do of Keith Richards and the Rolling Stones. So that's probably why it ended up this way. But I mean, look, man, it's not like we're just expecting, because we're used to seeing Keith Richards at the top of everything. And whereas like now it's sort of like almost even ground, right? Both have had albums out for a long time, massive popularity. So I'm not surprised at the end of the day, really, that Slash took this one. So yeah, let's check what the audience had to say. So DTV 2003, Keith Richards, this man lived through sex, drugs, and will always be one of the best bands known. Yeah, of course, like Rolling Stones. You can't argue with that.
I would say Slash definitely lived through some of that too, but I can't argue with either one, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. Colton's Automotive Tips. Slash is responsible for the iconic Sweet Child of Mine riff, so there you go. But I mean, like, then you could just go to Satisfaction. You can counter with, Start Me Up, right? Like
it's really tough to even compare these guys, because I feel like they both have mutual respect for each other too. Like, if you ask them, probably say each other's as good as, you know, they are.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, it's just that they're both, the reason why we paired them is because they're such iconic on their own kind of thing, but also the guitar player, the right-hand man of the lead singer of those two hugely successful bands. So that's why they sort of go together, but obviously in style. If I had to pick my favorite, it would be, which I did, was Slash, because, you know, I just find he's more musical, and, you know, it was more of my era growing up. Not for anything, like, I love the Stones and Keith Richards, but that just edged it out a bit. So here, Keith Richards, because he's one of the absolute sex, drugs, and rock and roll legends. He probably like defined that whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
He's the creator,
thing, right?
Basically, right?
I love that. I love that meme when he's with his 2 daughters, and it says on the top, like, when they die, everything goes to him. His
inheritance.
Yeah, you know,
that's like a classic.
You know, anyways, Game X Simmons might not be a Slash without Keith. Look at that. That's wise man right there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
However, I think Slash's playing is better. It's hard to compare, though. Yeah, it's pretty much what we've been saying, but like we did compare it.
Yeah, well, we have to compare, but definitely good points all around from the community. It's time again for our favorite part of the show. This is where we jump into you guys' music suggestions. Every single Friday on SoundMojo, we put up a post asking you guys to send music for us to listen to and react to. And we've jumped into those songs as promised yet again this week. And it's never been disappointing, Joe. I have to say, there's a lot of different sound. I hate to be a broken record. You know, there's not a lot of different sounds coming from me on this segment, but there is coming from you guys.
Yeah, totally. It was such a diverse again, and a lot of really good ones, and some that I've been playing nonstop since I read these suggestions. Let's get started off with a suggestion by our friend here, which is always guaranteed to bring us something we have never seen or heard of before.
That's a fact. Yeah,
so here we have the song Heilung by Lifa, I believe. It's really hard to understand. Kriegsgalder. I hope I didn't kill that too much. Anyways, thank you for the note. The band is German, Norwegian, and Danish, and they describe their music themselves as amplified history and early medieval Northern Europe, which, if you watch the video or you're seeing the video here, it makes a lot of sense.
Such a cool video, such a cool performance. Like, for me, I found this one word was the main word that came into my head, Joe, and it was hypnotic. You know, I felt like it just kept drawing me in, and it was like this droning sort of like humming, and the whole thing I found was sort of, it very much enticed you to keep listening. It didn't feel like as long of a song as it was. I ultimately found this group to be supremely talented and just something really different from what I usually listen to, which is always what I'm looking for in a segment like this. So I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, man, I echo literally everything you said. I love the costumes, the look, the feel. I also checked out both because like he mentioned there was a live and whatever. I checked out both.
Yes.
I preferred the recording because they're pretty much identical. I mean, like it's, you know, the only reason I preferred the recording one because in the middle section, it's more whispered and it seems spookier and more integrated well in the song. Whereas live, it just came across a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit different, you know, and like they were a bit yelling it, you know. So I preferred the studio recording, but definitely, man, like very spooky, but very, you know, like you said, it wasn't too long. Didn't feel like it was a 8 or 9 minute song, and it just passed by super smooth. So I love that droniness when it kind of just takes you away, almost like you're being, you know, you had a spell put on you, kind of thing. You just let it go, you know.
No, 100%. And it's cool to see the diversity of someone who's able to take a song that's, you know, whenever the recording can have a little bit of a different feel to it, I always appreciate that too. Because, you know, you don't want a carbon copy. You always want that different energy to come live. So yeah, solid reaction from me. So this next one here is by Domi and JD Beck. And who recommended this one to us, Joe?
It's our good friend, not Donald Fagen.
The man himself. Now, this guy, I got to say, has got some pretty supreme music taste. Definitely always has some good stuff coming in. This one I liked. You know, this was a nice, light kind of song. It was sort of chill, but still uplifting, if that makes sense. I found it like a laid-back song that can also put a smile on your face. The piano was really well done. I overall liked the instrumentation, and this sort of just made me want to hear more from this duo, so I liked it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this, Domi and JD Beck. It was news to me, but like it felt like I was something I should already know because I loved it from the first note. I started to hear flutes, and the recording was so nice and dry, and obviously it's you know, it's like modern jazz kind of you know, style, and I just can't explain it, man. There's something about this sound that I just love. You know, I definitely I dug into the album. I think I've listened to it another 2 or 3 times since. And like I just love it. Like I was like, oh, it's already over, you know. It's already done. And the fact that they had Thundercat in there too is such a fun thing. I love that guy as an artist, man. He's just so like on another level.
So unique, man.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Another suggestion we had from Donald was not Donald Fagen, Shad, TSOL.
Yes, so Shad, a Canadian rapper for the people who aren't familiar with him, and also the I believe he's still the host of Q on CBC. He was the guy who replaced Gomeshi.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's still on the show if he hadn't left already. But definitely an interesting character. Always a guy who I would love to sit and pick this guy's brain, and try to find out more about his life. He had really unique lyrics in this, like lyrics that you were sort of like, huh, what did he just say, like kind of thing. But it was cool, and it sort of kept me curious to see what he had to say next. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, man, I liked it. It was similar to the one before, right? A bit jazzy, hip hop, very old, a little bit of that old school. I too like the lyrics and stuff, and there's something about the sound that I just love, man. I don't know what it is. It reminds me. I don't know if you've ever heard of. I don't know if this guy is a producer more or anything, but Grammatic.
I've definitely heard of that. Yeah. I think I've heard his stuff.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that stuff, and also reminded me because the Canadian aspect of chaos, right?
Yes, 100%.
Made me think of that in terms of like the approach and stuff. And like I was, he was a Rwandan Canadian rapper and broadcaster. See, I should have got that from that, but I didn't know. I mean, 5 of his albums have been shortlisted for the Polaris Music Prize and also won a Juno Award for Rap Recording of the Year in 2011. So see,
wow.
And I don't know, man. It's just like some really good talent over here in the Great White North,
No, 100%, man. It's really cool to see. So shout out to Shad, and definitely good to have that suggestion on our list from not Donald Fagen. The next one came from Red Warrior Studios.
Yeah.
And this one is going to be Manowar. Now, I have to confess, Joe, maybe this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is the first Manowar song I've ever heard.
Okay, I have a similar confession, but it's not the first one I've ever heard, but I should know more and should be into this band a little, or should have been into this band a lot earlier. Manowar's always been around, right? That's so iconic.
They've always been around.
The name, their album covers and everything. I did get an album way back in the early 90s, and I enjoyed it. It was a bit, I don't know what, the feeling I'm still left with was a bit weird or different for the time, I guess. Maybe it's because my tastes were changing, going more into the prog rock and that kind of stuff. But anyways, going back, we should definitely know more about this band. I was excited when I saw somebody suggested Manowar. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's check this out, What did you think of it, the song?
I think it was good. It wasn't my favorite song in the world, but I found it interesting because it reminded me a lot of Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. Did you hear that in the bass line? The dun, 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 dun. I was like, I've heard this before. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like Manowar, you can definitely tell from the covers of their albums to some of their influence now that I've heard even in this track, like you can definitely see that they're students of rock and metal. They've done their research. They know all the little nooks and crannies of these bands. They seem to really love music. So, I mean, again, I found it had a lot of those Dio era Sabbath vibes with also some originality. So I would say well done.
Yeah. Like for me, usually I'm not a fan of songs that like, we are the rock, we are the this, that protest the whole rock thing. It's like so cheesy, just saying, right? But I mean, that's to each their own, right? But like, I can totally hear this song though when it's live with a huge crowd, how much of an anthem it is, So like, maybe that's where we'd be like, wow, like this is really cool. But definitely, thank you so much, Red Warrior Studios, for this suggestion. This was good, not one we've gotten before. So now we'll move on to Anton. Wow, I will not. Okay, this is Jelson. Okay, I remember this.
Okay, yes.
Dear Alcohol by the artist Dax.
Now, this was interesting, man. Is Dax a guy you've heard before at all?
Exact. Nope.
Man, Dax, I've heard before, but the thing with Dax is that if you hear him, you may not recognize it again because every song he does is so diverse. And this song, if I would have just heard it without a video, I would have never known it was him. Like, this was a departure from his typical style. He's usually a lot more straightforward rap influenced. This was like a pop song or something. I don't know, but I liked what I heard. It kind of had rap elements. All I really ever have to say about Dax, man, is like, I respect him. I respect he does all these different concepts. He puts in such hard work on his videos. I'm a fan. That's really all I can say about Dax.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. I thought like, it definitely sounds like a pop song like we've heard before and stuff, but like I love the message and just the candid nature of what, how the lyrics just start, I get drunk to forget about my problems. I drink to this, that. But I'd never heard about him or the song, but yet in 8 months, it garnered 39 million views. So
that's insane.
He's definitely doing something right.
That's insane. Yeah, I think it's safe to say he's definitely on a good path. So I mean, shout out to Dax, man. He's taking over YouTube. I'm telling you.
Now our good friend who never forgets us, AUR. He's actually. I have a feeling he looks forward to this, because he always writes, "All right, let's go."
That's right. We're ready.
He likes challenging us. I never knew how to pronounce this artist. Is it Aus? AU5? I have no idea.
I have no idea, but I mean, so, I like what I'm hearing. You know, this was, in terms of EDM type of stuff or electropop type of stuff, this was probably the best one I've heard so far from the listener suggestions. I really just like the whole vibe of this. The visualizer was really cool. It just felt like something big and grand and epic, and sort of takes you out of this realm, so to speak, out of this world. I think it was cool. Like, it was exactly to me what EDM is supposed to be. Yeah, well, it's interesting you said that, because I wrote, literally my notes are, I love everything about this track, meaning it's everything I expect as well. You know, fat beats, great production, and just like, you know, catchy, simple stuff. I put here a note at 4:30-ish, you know, around the 4:30 mark, you get AUR's favorite, a dubstep type of section with all those noises and stuff, but in this case, it was very tastefully done. So yeah, good suggestion on that one. I definitely like that song. And he also suggested Laura Brem, Breathe, Last Heroes and Crystal Skies remix. This was interesting for sure, man. This was, I thought it was going to be more of an airy, light song, but then the vocals kicked in and it kind of brought a little bit of that mid-range heaviness to it, which was cool. It wasn't as soft of a song as I really expected. And I mean, this could definitely get the speakers bumping if you put it at some high volume. So I think this was well executed, and the singing definitely brought me in. Same here, man. Like, I enjoyed this one a lot, and I wrote the vocals sound amazing. The production is huge. And I always like how, like, even though it's sort of the same thing the whole way through, like in terms of like the song, like if you took away the vocals and everything, you'd almost have just the whole, it's just like 3 or 4 chords and it's the whole song. But every time there was a new section, it's slightly updated, done differently, different sounds. So I can appreciate that. You know, that's what I like about it. Kept me, you know, just always like, oh, there's always something new to check out, you know? So 100%. AUR, again, these were, I think, some top-notch suggestions for you. Thank you for that. From you, sorry. Now we'll move on to GameX Simmons, Phyllis Sinclair Oland. Shout out to GameX Simmons, by the way, for the frequent suggestions. Yep. This song was interesting to me, Joe. It was felt like traditional in a sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I put here right off the bat, like this was a breath of fresh air in the sense that it's not an artist that we're typically going to see. It's like an indigenous, like a native Canadian singer. And her voice was almost angelic, you know, like I checked out the live version and it was like, no, let me go back to the studio version, because it was just so well done. It was really very nice. Her voice sounds so nice. It leaves me feeling uplifted and positive. You know, the whole song just gives me that, you know, and definitely, sadly, never heard of her before. So thank you for bringing this up. Yeah, she was really good. This is somebody who I'm sure has I'm probably a dedicated cult following. Like, I'm sure there's a segment of people who know all her stuff. And again, this is what we want to be let in on. Like, there's so much out there that we can't find all this stuff on our own. So for you guys to put us on to new things, we really appreciate. And yeah, I like this. I think a breath of fresh air is a good way to put it, Joe. It was refreshing. And I'd like to hear more sort of wholesome, kind of nice songs like this. Well, that's it, right? Like, it leaves you feeling happy and positive. And anyways, I hope so, because I hope the lyrics weren't dark and evil. But that's exactly right. It's about a cursed generation. It's like, you don't know. Anyways, thanks for that. Colin Olofsson, Dirty Loops, Work Shit Out. Dirty Loops, I'll admit, I've heard of them, you know, over the years on social media, as they were just like phenomenal musicians covering and doing like performance videos. So I knew what to expect, but I never dove 100% into the catalog and really listened to their stuff. I'm kind of now stuck on a similar kind of thing, but with Mark Lettieri, you know, like he's a guitar player that plays this kind of stuff, and very cool. So yeah, what did you think of this? You know, I got to be honest. I would agree with your comment about them being great musicians. I think they're obviously well practiced. I think they're obviously very much skilled. Like, they're not new to this, is what's clear. In terms of the actual sounds of it, this is just not for me. I just got to be honest. This is, I'm not into it. I don't like the vocals. I don't really like much about it. But I am able to distinguish what I like versus what is of quality. So I don't have to like it for it to be of quality. And that's what I would say about this song.
That's nice. Like I just like put this on and I was expecting a shred fest because when I saw Dirty Loops, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be just like a bunch of musicians wanking kind of thing, and it is a bit on that side. But I was impressed that it wasn't only about that. That's what I liked about it. I'm also starting to realize that there's something about bass, drums, drums, bass, and guitar, and not guitar, piano. Sorry, it's like this jazzy kind of like we had with Thompson Egbo, with those kind of like, that jazzy piano kind of thing. I something about it. For some reason, I love it. I love the middle section too, when it slows down and then they really start to jam it out, and then the song sort of ends. I was expecting them to come back, but it was long enough, I guess, and they just like left it that way. So I thought it was pretty good, a good introduction to this kind of genre of music if you want to get into it, So definitely thank you, Colin, for suggesting that. Thank you, everyone, for always amazing. Like I remember writing Cash, like, you're gonna love this week's suggestions. They're like,
and then I wrote back. I'm like, you were right. I'm like, this is insane. So it's like, you guys always hit us with new stuff. And again, next week, make sure to hit us with listen. There's nothing too obscure. There's nothing too far off. Like we want everything, guys. So we're really looking forward to seeing what you guys have for us next week. Now it's time to hop into the interview portion of today's program. It was a pleasure to be joined by the pop rock duo Circadia, Nathan and Alyssa James. Shout out to both of them for taking the time to stop by the show all the way from Ohio. Their new album, Built from Heartbreak, will be available in 2023, so make sure to take a look for that on all streaming services. They also explain the built mentality, which has a lot to do with this record and a lot to do with their mission statement as artists in this conversation as well. So we hope you enjoy, and we'll catch you guys right afterwards. We're back with some more awesome guests right here on Watch Mojo's Innersleeve Music Podcast. It's a pleasure to be joined by Nathan and Alyssa James of Circadia. What's going on, folks?
Yeah, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So you're calling from Ohio. It seems like we've been having a lot of artists from Ohio coming on lately, Joe.
Yeah. Something's brewing in that city.
That's right. How's it going in Ohio today?
Not bad. It's a nice fall day. Sun's still out, so no blizzards yet.
Oh, man. That stuff is brutal.
We could totally feel you. We're in Canada, and it's like the same thing. Our weather is just crazy up here.
Would you guys say that the weather or like the stuff that's going on externally, because obviously we're going to talk about sort of the social state of the world and things like that shortly, but like do the less significant things impact your creative process at all? Like if it's a summer day, is it easier to make like a nice summer song, or is that not even relevant?
No, it's a rare occasion when I write that has to do with, the weather or anything like that. Most of our songs are very deep and real and in your face, whether that's positively or in a dark place that resolves to a positive. We rarely write about weather or anything like that.
Does like external factors like influence the way you write or anything? Or is like rain or shine, I write? Do you wait for inspiration? 'Cause a lot of artists like, I don't feel inspired, so I don't write today. But like, you just got to sometimes just sit down and do it.
Yeah, sometimes it impacts the mood a little bit. Especially if it's blizzarding and you have to go to work. Like driving in a blizzard really sucks.
Yeah.
So that can affect it sometimes.
That's brutal. So, I mean, maybe talking about the new record that's going to be coming out, what's been going on for Circadia in the last couple months? I mean, has it been just sort of getting ready for the album drop, or what's been the vibe?
Yeah, admittedly, most importantly, her and I are actually getting married in literally a week.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah,
wow.
So that has been a major priority of ours, of course. But in the meantime, we've also been dropping singles for the new album. And the most recent single we came out with, called Determined, announced the official album art of the record and the title of the album, Built from Heartache. And we have one more single coming out off of the up-and-coming record. And then that's November 18th when it comes out. And then we'll have one more that will not be on the record, but it'll be a single only. And it'll be featuring a new dear friend of mine who is further along in his music career than I am, or than we are. So that will hopefully help both of us. We'll announce that probably January.
So it's to be announced.
Is that a Circadia featuring someone else?
Mm.
And is there any reason why it wouldn't be on the album, or it's just like it's an extra?
Well, we initially had a set release date for the end of January, but due to various situations, we've had to push it back a little bit. So it's looking like the spring of next year.
Okay.
But at the same time, as an artist, you don't want to go 5-6 months without releasing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the single is kind of like a exciting filler until the album actually comes out.
Yeah. So
nice.
Just going back a little bit into the past of how you guys got started, like individually, like what did you play? What got you inspired into music?
Growing up, I've always done choir in school, so I've always done the singing aspect of it, of getting into music. Always wanted to learn how to play guitar. Never learned. I know like 4 chords. That's it.
That's all you need. You technically would know a couple million songs.
Yeah, halfway there.
I play like every Ed Sheeran song that ever existed. But then I did music theory class in high school as well, so I could learn to compose and read sheet music further. And just recently it was last year that I started doing piano.
I've been passionate about music in general ever since I was 10. The first instrument I learned how to play was drums, and it's technically my most fluent. Even though I've been off and on over the years. Circadia started as a side project that I created in 2018, just as to dabble in the world of electronica, because at the time I was really into Owl City and churches and artists like that. So initially it was the idea, I just wanted to do it for fun while I was in a alternative rock band. But then our first record, Seeking Completion, came out November of 2019, right before the pandemic hit. So I wasn't necessarily able to like actively promote it other than online, and of course that the pandemic bogged a lot of people down, put them in a negative state of mind and everything. There was I'm not going to go into detail about it, but there was actually a really difficult event that happened January of 21 that almost had me give up on doing music entirely.
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, with her help, and as a birthday gift in February, she had one of my idols in the music industry reach out to me via an app called Cameo. That's where you get a wish, like a birthday wish, anniversary wish from your favorite celebrity. And he encouraged me not to give up, and the hard times are some of the worst at some points, but you've got to keep going, especially if you're passionate about it.
Would we know who this artist is at all, or?
His name is Seth Morrison. He plays guitar for Skillet.
Okay, cool. And you needed that message at the time.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. So, shortly after that, I listened to our Seeking Completion album front to back for the first time in like over 6-7 months or so. And I'm like, I forgot how proud of this I am. You know what? I want to run with this as my baby going forward. So, because one of the most valuable things I learned throughout that whole thing was honestly sticking with one band, one name, one genre, the entirety of your career is one thing that's actually going to help you be successful. Because I've been in countless different bands. Being in 4 different bands at once doesn't really get you anywhere because you can't pick just one that you want to fully promote to the full extent.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how do you manage that being in 4 different bands at once too? Like just with jobs and relationship? I mean, that sounds like a lot to juggle.
Welcome to the world of professional drummers.
Right?
Or music in 2020, 21 and up, like you have no choice but to spread yourself like in 18 different directions, right? And to try and see what happens, But it's true what you said, like, because myself as well, like growing up, I did metal rock, prog rock, a bunch of stuff, So it's like, and I came to the realization the other day, like in a sense, not of a regret, but like, or something, man, I should have probably just stuck to 1 or 2, but like, you also have to accept who you are as a person, because myself, like, as well, like, I love so many different things. So it's like I get excited by so many things, so it's hard to sort of pick one, which is something we noticed here on the channel, doing interview after interview, especially with like yourself, how you guys sound is there's almost like, because you said you played in alternative rock, but there's a lot of stuff that you do that's very alternative rock in Circadia, or even heavier too. But then there's some stuff that, like, I'm like, that's a Duran Duran guitar line kind of inspired with the tone and everything. I'm like, the chorus is spot on, So I'm like, so yeah, you're definitely genre blurring, and that's what we've noticed has been happening a lot now, like in the industry, where it's like everything's sort of almost already been done, like, I don't want to say 100% certainty, but yeah, you have to, like, genres, borders are sort of dropping as we go, and more accepted,
Yeah.
Like, do you guys feel like that's going to help music, or is this a very positive thing for the space?
Definitely, yeah. Like, I mean, we deem ourselves technically as electronic pop rock, but that's just to give people a broad idea remotely of what we sound like. So, and it kind of weans out the people that aren't going to care. Oh, electronica, I'm not a fan. I'm not going to bother. That's fine. We're looking for super fans, so more power to you. But then, of course, like, I have so many different influences. I don't know which all songs you've heard, but one of my bigger influences is A Day to Remember, and they're heavier. So that's the more metal aspect of our sound. At the same time, one of my all-time favorite classic bands is Earth, Wind and Fire. It's all over the place. I love pulling influence from drastic different genres. It's a lot of fun. It keeps you original. So.
Yeah, like I was listening to some of the stuff, like, and now I sort of I struggle with titles because I listen to a lot in a row, but like the one thing I got, like, some of the vocal parts reminded me again of Death Cab for Cutie kind of vibes. I don't know if you're familiar. Yeah, it's probably your tone and the way you write and some of the stuff. So, like, it reminded me of that, And it's funny because I had a question here that was going to come up was, how would you describe your project or band, the sound at a dinner party to somebody? And it's like, because, we have these type of pop rock, but like you said, that's so vast. So how would you describe it, let's say, to someone like you want to gain a super fan? How would you describe it to them?
Most of the time when that conversation starts, I start by saying something along the lines of, have you heard of or listened to Owl City before? It's a lot like that meets Simple Plan or meets the Foo Fighters, meets A Day to Remember, that kind of thing. If they don't necessarily know any of those bands, I'm like, we're a lot like Styx, only heavier.
Right. Okay.
So
that's cool.
That's funny because A Day to Remember and Styx were both in town last night. You're just like you're reading my local concert roster here, so that's interesting. Alyssa, how would you describe you guys' sound exactly? I'm curious to sort of, like, if somebody asks you, let's say your elevator pitch, how would you describe your group?
Oh, I don't have an elevator pitch for that. I usually, whenever I'm at my day job, if I'm like talking to patients about my life and everything, I do tell them and bring up the fact that I am in a pop rock duo. They'll ask questions about it. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like how Nathan would say, like, it's like Owl City meets Simple Plan and the Foo Fighters, and like kind of explain it. It's like, oh, it's like heavier, but it still has synth, kind of thing like that.
Yeah, and like
100%.
the overarching theme, and it's very hard to do. I find, like, myself, when I try to do, is positive and happy music, right?
Absolutely.
And that's like your strength. Like, everything seems very happy, positive, So, like, I don't know. I struggle writing happy. It's so much easier to write a sad or a minor key song. How do you, like, is it something like it just comes naturally to you, or is it something you work at?
A little of both, because, well, actually, I had one of my dearest friends actually say a lot of your songs are actually pretty dark. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
They have dark elements, but most
Exactly.
of them have a positive resolve.
And then you just give it a really poppy sound.
Yeah, and then I just
Yeah.
give it a poppy sound. Whereas I would feel, for example, not that I dislike or am belittling them. I love this band. For example, Breaking Benjamin, their songs are nothing but dark to me.
But there's people out there who love that.
There's people who are out there who relate to that more than I do. I have a firm, fervent belief in hope and love, and that love conquers everything, and it's absolutely necessary in today's world. I have songs that are virtually nothing but dark, but they come from a place of it's still going to be okay.
It also comes into, there's a few musicians that I follow, they're like, my music's angry, so I don't have to be. So they put all of their anger and all their emotion into their music so that they can be a happy person.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like journaling, kind of like putting it through.
Oh yeah, like for example, again, Ben Burnley is actually one of the kindest human beings I've ever met, but their music is so dark. It's that's his philosophy.
Their music's sad, so they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's the way to let it out. And Joe, I'm sure you could relate to that. Like, if you use that as an outlet, it could, I'm sure propel you in many ways.
I mean, I see it so many ways as like when I'm in, when you're actually writing music, it's like, and you're in the zone, as they say, right? You're like, you're in the flow state, and everything sort of disappears. And like, it's like as if you wake up 2-3 hours later, like, wow, I just put this whole thing together out of nowhere. Right. And like, so for me, that's like my therapy sessions, my meditation is like, that's what I do, So I find, it does definitely relieve stress for sure. And like, maybe you don't take things as seriously anymore, So one thing that's always helped me is that like, no matter how bad it is for me, I always know that someone else is having it even worse, so like, or someone else is struggling even harder than I am. So I'll take, not that I want someone else to be struggling more than myself, but I mean, like, I'll take that,
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the truth. So how about in terms of, just even the album's title? I mean, I'm curious because, you talk about the dark theme with a good resolve built from heartache. That seems to be really the definition of that.
Absolutely. So our first record, Seeking Completion, it actually came out before pretty much the day I met Alyssa.
Wow.
Oddly enough.
So
you guys were on it together or no?
So November 8th of 2018, I had literally known Alyssa maybe 2 or 3 days at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So that record is actually entirely self-produced. Of course, I go to a studio, and Newkirk Productions does a phenomenal job of putting my scrambled thoughts together into a finished product. I love the guy. We've been super close. But yeah, like she only started to actively get involved in the band January of last year.
Okay.
So Built from Heartache is the sequel to Seeking Completion. All of our albums, I have to get used to saying that. Especially being married soon and all.
Right.
All of our albums are concept records. They tell a story from beginning to end. So
yes,
Seeking Completion's plot, if you will, in a very, very broad sense, is looking for love in all the wrong places, like the old reggae song. I think there's a country song like that too. But
yeah, I've definitely heard that theme explored.
Like it's, essentially, instead of trying to find what completes you in money, status, fame, significant others, etc., look deeper. For me personally, it's God. That's where I'm based out of. Like I don't expect or condemn anyone who has a different approach on the outlook, but that's where mine came from. So that's the overarching theme of Seeking Completion. So the sequel, Built from Heartache, is essentially about building yourself up from your lowest points overall. Like having a catastrophic event happen in your life, learning to grow and mature from it, becoming a better version of yourself, learning to be exudant of what unconditional love really looks like, things like that.
I don't know if this was your mantra. I mean, tell me how you would describe this, but the built mentality. Maybe if you could explain that for our listeners.
Yeah, that is our mission statement as a band. It is an acrostic, and it stands for be kind, use your gifts, inspire others, love unconditionally, and try your best. Nice. It's pretty much all just encouraging us to live these very things. Now, of course, we're human and we're not perfect. We're going to mess up. It's inevitable. One thing I've learned even from Seth Morrison himself, interviews with Matty Mullins from Memphis Mayfire, and Stephen Christian from Anberlin, artists like this. Couple of things that they've actually taught me as well is, they can't tell you enough. Being a genuinely kind and loving person will take you so much further in your career than being just a good artist.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, right? And do you feel like that's often under discussed? Because I feel like a lot of people just focus on the talent and they don't really seem to think about the other factors of the business. Exactly. And a lot of times artists' lyrics show the epiphany of what they stand for. Unless, of course, you have artists who have pretty much nothing but dark music, but they flat out tell you, it's an outlet for me to escape from my darkness, so I can be a kind and loving person, But yeah, like Memphis Mayfire, a lot of their lyrics are dark. But Matty Mullins is one of the coolest human beings I've ever met. So wow. See, that's super cool to hear. So how about you guys' biggest challenges, maybe as artists? We've talked about some personal challenges, but how have you been able to overcome your biggest challenges, sort of either individually as musical people or together since you've started collaborating? For me, it's more gradually getting back into and starting to challenge my musicianship. Because there have been many times where I took long breaks without rehearsing or practicing vocals or the instruments I play or anything like that. That does put a hindrance on it. And we do have factors of that, like our current living situation isn't the most ideal. Being in an apartment can be difficult as a musician, especially when drums are your most fluent instrument. Right. Definitely a challenge. I can relate too, because that's where my drumming career sort of ended when I jumped into the apartments. But do you do electric drums or computer programming for drums? Currently, all of our drums are programmed on our records. We want to eventually develop where we don't have to do that anymore. And either I will play drums for the records going forward, or maybe if we have a hired touring drummer. Because we do market ourselves as a duo, but live we're a 5-piece band. Overcoming these challenges has been more difficult living in an apartment, but we are working towards making things really happen. And of course, the wedding has been such a large part of our 2022. So of course, it is a lot of stress. But 2023, we're actually looking to really start to move forward with playing a lot more live concerts, whether that's full band or acoustic, getting our name out there more. We have a decent amount of overseas fans, which is really cool, but we have very little American fans. And that's interesting, where our struggle is at the moment.
Wow. It happens a lot with artists, like some of these like major artists, like, I'm talking about like back when I was growing up. They had to go. You have to make it somewhere else for your own place to sort of recognize you. You have to sort of be a success somewhere else, and all of a sudden, yeah, they're so proud they're from our town. But like, they didn't give you the time of day at the time.
Right.
Would you be touring? Like, would you guys actually go on the road for a few months? Or how does that work?
I don't think, at least next year, it'll be a place where we are able to go for multiple months. But we're probably going to be able to start out with 3-4 day weekend tours regularly.
Nice.
Yeah, like every other weekend, something like that, because my current day job schedule works that way.
Yeah.
And of course, we ultimately don't want day jobs, but
right.
I don't know a single person who does.
Yeah.
That's right, I guess, right? That's the transition. I've heard of artists talking about, like when they have that 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it can be a challenge. So like, how are you guys planning to move forward from this? And with the wedding and everything, I'm sure that's probably the focus. Like, are you guys going to be playing at your own wedding? What's the deal with the music?
One of our songs off of the new record, me and a flautist are going to be playing that acoustically together.
Wow.
Nice.
As a testament of my love for Alyssa, because
isn't that part of a covenant ceremony?
Yeah, I wrote the song is called The Commitment, which is pretty self-explanatory. I wrote
Right.
it about her and my commitment to her. So, yeah, and so that'll be performed, but I'm not doing like an entire concert or event or anything like that. We did,
We could though.
I guess,
In
little
a
too
wedding
late
dress, that'd be
now.
kind of cool.
A little too late now, but yeah, after the wedding, probably beginning of next year, we're really going to take things by storm. We want to be able to tour the Built from Heartache album. We'll see what that looks like. This friend of mine who's going to be featured on the single next year. I'm not going to announce it yet. I will. You'll know about it, but
Coming up.
So not to share it.
it really is. But yeah, so he is a important person that can actually help me out a lot with getting us up and running.
Mhm.
So playing like a weekend tour with them might be in the near future.
Nice.
So possibly winter, spring of next year. We'll see. I'm grateful that he is willing to just give us a lot of this knowledge about how things work for them and how they became more successful than,
Yeah.
Instead of, gatekeeping it. So I look forward to having not only that partnership, but friendship as well. And hopefully the record will come out in spring at the latest is the goal. And then, yeah, we just plan on promoting it like absolute crazy.
I was just gonna ask you, what do you do as an indie artist? Like, what would you like? What's your plan to promote it? How do you promote it? Or what has worked for you better than other, let's say, attempts you've made?
I do manage a lot of things with the band at the moment. And one thing that I've noticed that's been working well is there are a handful of playlist curators for Spotify and Apple Music that I've become very close with. Building a friendship and a relationship with them has actually been rather vital. So I use those few people to really help us gain listeners. The main downfall, again, is we don't have a whole lot of American fans. That's part of it. But also, well, one of the curators is Indian, so that is a factor.
Right.
But
Sorry to interrupt, but I was curious because you've mentioned it a few times, like about the American, like not having a lot of American fans. Is there any particular reason why that may be, or?
I think one of the biggest reasons, more than anything, is we have not toured yet
Okay.
Yeah.
as a band.
We don't do a whole lot of like shows
Mhm.
within our own state. According to like our statistics through Spotify, we have a lot of listeners in New York.
Yeah,
Okay.
New York and
I believe
Georgia, I think.
Georgia, something like that.
Yeah.
And then we have like a couple like sprinkled throughout our own state.
New York
Yeah.
makes sense when you think about it, right? Like, it's so diverse, New York, and so is your music, so it makes a bit more sense. The Georgia
It
thing
is largely populated too.
We
yeah,
have a
Yeah.
lot of UK.
Yeah, a lot of UK, a lot of Germany, a lot of Filipino.
That could also be because of
Yeah, Amazing Radio has been a big help with that. They are a UK-based company that only the past few years branched out to America. They are helping very much for very reasonable pricing. I would recommend to anybody to give them a shot.
And they're called Amazing Radio?
Amazing Radio, yep.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very cool. Well, I mean, it sounds like this is the way for people to be promoting, and hopefully a lot of the indie artists out there listening to this have been able to take some tips.
Yeah, very, very recently, one of the most important things I learned that is going to help us that much more going forward is called sync licensing. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't. No, Joe has. I would imagine because he used to work in royalties. Joe. So.
Yeah, I used to work in royalties and stuff like that, and sync. And myself too have been synced a few times, but like I was telling you earlier, I was through a friend that like, hey, give me some music, blah blah. Next thing I know, I'm hearing stuff on TV like, hey, that's mine, like, and then you get your royalty checks. You're like, wow, I was expecting like $20-$30, and it was like, wow, I can pay my rent, I can do my stuff with this,
Absolutely. I look forward to dabbling in that some more. I only recently learned about it, so
that's it. Like, it's because everybody's like, since like album sales are barely existent at this point, so like everybody went after the streaming, and then everybody went after neighboring rights royalties, which is a performance royalty, and now obviously sync licensing is the next big thing because.
So how do you define that, Joe?
What Which one?
Sync licensing. What does that
sync
mean
licensing, well, basically, it's like if you get your music in a commercial, TV shows, what else is there?
YouTube ads, TikTok ads, etc., etc.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's it. So,
basically
like,
putting your song in the pool to be selected for these projects.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that like you know some of these things can have like a $10,000 or $50,000 budget if you're lucky for that one placement or two placements, and sometimes it's a few $100, which is great. You know, like as long as it's the idea is if it's non-exclusive, then you know your music is not tied down to one place. So like a lot of them are very, but the more they pay, the more exclusive it'll be, which makes sense, right? But. No, that's good. I hope you guys I think your stuff like would definitely work, and because it's like pretty varied, and that seems to be sort of like what's happening today, very uplifting, positive music, because everything is so dark everywhere at this point, right? And or it feels that way anyway. So yeah. No, that's great, man. Sync licensing is definitely a thing. It's a, you know, everybody sort of, you know, I noticed it like really an uptick in interest in that around 2018 that I started seeing on YouTube. Everybody sync licensing, this, that, you know. So yeah, definitely interesting.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah,
well, we appreciate you so much for coming on the show, Nathan and Alyssa, and definitely congratulations on the wedding. A week from now, you will be the married couple. So listen, congratulations, and we just really hope everything goes smoothly with that and the music moving forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Huge shout out to the good folks over at Circadia for taking the time to join us on episode number 101 of the Innersleeve Music Podcast. You know, I gotta say, Joe, the main thing, and I know we mentioned this before jumping in, but the main theme of this interview is really fun and positivity. Those are two words that come to mind when I think of Circadia. It's just important for them to be genuinely having fun. I don't think they're too concerned about much else, which is actually quite refreshing in this business.
Yeah, like when I brought it up in the interview of like, it's not often like, you know, like when I think of stuff like positive sounding music, I mean, uplifting, you know, major progressions that are normally associated with happy thoughts, you know, but like, but from dark sort of material, dark situations, you know, and making it positive, you know, like that's not an easy feat, you know, so that they do it so well, you know, it just comes naturally to them. So more power to you, man, for making, you know, bringing some light into some darkness, you know.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Shout out to Circadia, and congratulations on the new marriage, by the way. We hope it goes well for you both. We're sending you guys all the best. And shout out to our audience right here at SoundMojo. We appreciate you guys so much. 30,000 subscribers, 100 episodes, and we're still just getting started. So listen, make sure to go hit that subscribe button on SoundMojo. Join us on the comms tab for audience suggestions, polls, all these different things that we're putting up, guys. It's almost every single day, so you don't want to miss a thing. We're also on social media at SoundMojo. You can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at SoundMojo. Make sure to go follow. We'll show you guys some love in the comments. We'll respond, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 101 of the show. We'll catch you guys next time.